As soon as he went into the park, he saw a kid in ragged clothes running away from a pack of stray dogs. His eyes caught a swiftly ticking clock hand. It was unclear what had made you so anxious. Fear of dogs or of being late to work. He distanced himself from reality, refused to play any role except that of an outside observer. However, he had had no chance to interfere. The picture of the kid falling down on the ground, breaking skin on his knees, flashed before his eyes. Then of the dogs, losing all interest in him after that. You immediately felt nauseous. Everything went dark, and it seemed to him that he was looking at himself through the eyes of the kid. Just like when he was a child. Deja vu! In order to justify his actions to himself, he took the handkerchief with his initials and handed it to the kid. Before the latter could say anything, you ran away to avoid further conversation. In a hurry, he went in the wrong direction, unaware of it until he ran into a locked gate on his way. He casually turned around and went to work. He was almost there when he saw his boss enter the office building. He took it as his personal failure, although his watch showed that he still had several minutes. You barely got into the office when he noticed two male silhouettes behind him. He turned around to see his boss and a man he had never seen before, a little further away. Figuring that they would have to be introduced to each other, he turned to the stranger first.
Let me introduce myself. You.
My name is Frank.
And you?
To avoid unnecessary explanations, you took a name tag from his table and pointed to it. Yes, despite the fact that there was no live communication with clients, the work charter required name tags, probably to remember his name. Wow, that's a very unusual name. Nice to meet you.
It is the only unusual detail of my life.
An awkward pause hung in the air. The boss, standing behind Frank, frowned and cast a reproachful glance at you.
Frank is our security guard starting today. Who? We have nothing to. A security guard.
Some of my important documents are missing.
There are only two of us. What kind of documents?
That I cannot tell you.
You mean you suspect me?
No, I do not. Eliminating any opportunity to continue this conversation, the boss turned around and went into his office. The room plunged into silence. You got down to some clerical work. You found a moment and took the morning letter out of his pocket. Glancing at the address line, a chill went through Yu's body for a split second. From Dorina. Yu was confused by the seal on the envelope, indicating the place of departure. No leave grad.
Is she coming back to Kenot?
He said out loud. Suddenly, there was a curious voice saying, "Who is coming?" Yu did not answer and continued reading. Dear you, my doctor's suspicions are confirmed. I have the same disease that struck you. I thought it over and decided that we need to break up. It may seem that something like this should bring people closer together, but it would be unfair to myself. We can have our last date on the morning of April 3rd in the Seafront Cafe, and then I will leave Cannot and go abroad. He felt dizzy. You hurried to the cafe. It is uncertain whether he actually wanted to find her there or hoped for the opposite. One way or another, when he was in the appointed place, Dorina was not there. However, he saw a familiar kid on the porch of the cafe's veranda. His injured knee was bandaged with a similar handkerchief with Yu's initials on it. Yu's mind was clouded. The kid handed Yu his own handkerchief.
What for? Keep it.
Your nose is bleeding. The kid occupied himself with a scab on his knee.
Let's play a game of words. The first will be what hurts. It hurts.
Chapter 1. Once upon a time, there lived Yu. Despite his unusual name, his life was hardly any different from others. It was an unusually usual day when he was getting ready to go to work.
2 hours of sleep. What a formality.
He said to himself, glancing at his watch. He was used to working at night, just as he was used to never having days off. That morning, the buttons on his shirt were fastened faster than usual. This was not by chance. The tear-off calendar boldly declared Friday, April 3rd. It reminded him that there were only 3 work days before his holiday, and there was no room for mistakes. His room in a communal apartment was not very big, so it did not take him long to pack. Having got dressed, he quietly walked past the neighbors' rooms into the hallway. Somebody was snoring loudly in the furthest room, which caused Yu to smile for some reason. He walked up to the front door and accidentally stepped on a pile of letters. Picking up the thought that next Sunday, a huge stone would be removed from the entrance to the crypt of his existence by the power of labor legislation, kept Yu going. The trip to work took him by several blocks. He considered early morning to be an extremely pleasant time of day. Universal euphoria. Although euphoria usually precedes inevitable death. As soon as he went into the park, he saw a kid in ragged clothes running away from a pack of stray dogs. His eyes caught a swiftly ticking clock hand. Even though Yu had been scared of dogs since childhood, he was going to run to the kid's aid. But the latter stumbled and fell down on the pavement, and the dogs lost all interest in him. You had nothing to do with the outcome of events, but he was filled with pride for his desire to help the boy that he did not even know. It made him come up to the kid, who was sitting on the ground with a bloody knee and a toothless smile, not because of the fall, but due to his age. Yu was about to give the kid a handkerchief with his initials on it when he noticed it had fresh traces of his own blood. So he just asked,
Can I do something for you?
Thank you, sir. I am okay. They did not mean to hurt me.
At that moment, Yu saw his boss in the distance and hurried to work, shouting a quick
Be careful.
over his shoulder. On the way to the office, the thought about how strange it felt to be addressed as Sir bounced around in his head. Although he had passed a 30-year-old milestone, he felt closer to the kid with a bloody knee than to sirs of any kind, even the least important of them. Yu went up 3 flights of stairs and found himself on the top floor. It was the office of the insurance company where he worked. The door was unlocked. Was he late? He tried to walk in, but was stopped by a stranger. "Wait! What are you doing?" Before Yu could give a proper response to the cad, his boss came up the stairs, struggling to catch his breath, and did it himself.
Let him in.
They both entered the office, and the boss walked Yu to his desk, where he explained the situation to him in private.
That is Frank, my distant relative. He needs to do an internship, so he is going to work here for a while. As who? As a security guard.
To avoid any further questions, the boss turned around and went to his office.
An internship as a security guard in an insurance company, fitting in 2 rooms. Ridiculous. If I was blessed with a writing talent, I would definitely immortalize this.
Yu thought. Yu got down to some clerical work. Yu found a moment and took the morning letter out of his pocket. Glancing at the address line, a chill went through Yu's body for a split second. From Dorina. Yu was confused by the seal on the envelope, indicating the place of departure. No leave grad.
Is she coming back to Kenot?
He said out loud. Suddenly, there was a curious voice saying,
Who is coming?
Yu did not answer and continued reading. Dear Yu, my doctor's suspicions are confirmed. I have the same disease that struck you. I thought it over and decided that we need to break up. It may seem that something like this should bring people closer together, but it would be unfair to myself. We can have our last date on the morning of April 3rd in the Seafront Cafe, and then I will leave Kenot and go abroad. He felt dizzy. Yu hurried to the cafe. It is uncertain whether he actually wanted to find her there or hoped for the opposite. One way or another, when he was in the appointed place, Dorina was not there. All emotions left Yu in an instant. He saw the kid on the porch of the cafe veranda. The kid was looking at him, squinting in an odd way.
Why are you squinting?
I am not. I closed my eye on purpose. Go ahead, close one eye. Yu covered his eye with his hand to humor the kid. Feels strange. Do not open. I did it to remember about the mercy that life bestows on us. You get used to having just one eye, and then it turns out you have another. Or here's another thing. Hold your breath.
Got no will to carry on. Our pathway ended up. Had a stone wall. We don't share the same dreams anymore. But we're still afraid of change.
Chapter 3. The alarm went off. Yu faced a new day with weakness in his legs and a throbbing headache. All night long, he had been haunted by a painfully familiar nightmare. However, when he woke up, all tangible images dissolved, only leaving a nasty precipitate. His body led him to the kitchen in search of caffeine. Despite the early hours, he found his boss there.
How are you feeling?
Yu heard the question, but ignored it because of his sleepy state.
How difficult is it to answer?
Yu was pleased to hear the words of concern, even coming that way.
I'm sorry, Father.
A cup in Yu's hand inevitably filled with bloody coffee.
You look like shit. I feel like it. I do not want to lose my last son, even someone like you.
His father had his old wool suit on and was about to leave for work.
You do not have to go to the office today. Get some rest.
You did not tell anyone about this, but I am going to tell you confidentially. He believed that the disease manifested itself most fiercely when he went to bed. That was why Yu did not like sleep. His night fantasies became crazier with time. Every dream seemed to him a step closer to insanity. In order to control himself, he regularly looked at his hands and at the clock hands. Yu liked to alter his route to work every now and then. He would walk through the park, or that patio, or the arch, by which he used to run so often. All that in order to somehow distinguish between days. Otherwise, everything merged into one endless stream. He remembered that it was the last working day before the holiday when he came up to the office door. Entering the office, Yu noticed that Frank was not there. He grinned at that maliciously for some reason. He found a new batch of documents on his table. Pinning his name tag on his jacket, Yu got to work. The work did not take as much time on the last working day. He easily sorted out insurance files and, like a clerical deity, decided the client's fate. deciding who was to receive payments and who had mutilated himself with the purpose of deception. Having gone through most of the papers, he came across an extremely familiar storyline. Insurance form, life insurance, Form 42, fractures, serious illness, and death. Insurance does not cover self-inflicted injuries, self-inflicted infection, or suicide. Date of insurance, March 29th. Date of death, April 5th. Insurance sum, 203,500 coins. Salary, 15,000 coins. The client was an insurance agent. He bought a train ticket, later to be found under its wheels. Witness testimonies varied. According to some testimonies, he was pushed down onto the track. According to the other, he stumbled. Since the gap between the date of insurance and the date of death was so small, there was a note in the file indicating a suspected suicide. All risks were borne by the office that makes the final decision. You refused the insurance payout, figuring he had guessed the man's motives correctly. What guided him when making such a decision? Did he evoke his sense of justice, arrogance, selfishness, or maybe envy? His desktop got empty. He completed his work earlier than planned. Yet, he was dissatisfied. He felt that he had missed something. Not knowing what to do with himself, he went to his boss's office. He politely knocked a couple times on the door and appeared before his father.
Can I go? I have processed all the papers.
Taking the question as insolence, his father glanced at the calendar, then at the clock.
You are dismissed.
Not quite realizing what to do next, you paused to think.
You can go.
Picking up his things, you left the office. Was he really on holiday? As soon as he stepped over the threshold, he felt unwell. His chest rattled like a moving train.
It seems that my headache just now lets me be free, so I can open my eyes and can be able to see. It seems that my headache just now lets me be free, so I can open my eyes and can be able to see. It seems that my headache just now lets me be free, so I can open my eyes and can be able to see. It seems that my headache just now lets me be free, so I can open my eyes and can be able to see. It seems like I revive, like I completely healthy, but there is no bill from migraine, no one give you guarantee.